Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Let me find my amazing guest. Oh, there it goes. Is it still snowing in Colorado, Kristen? All right. Let's see. What the world? Okay. Find my guest, y'all. Hey, y'all. So today is Mental Health Monday. So we will be talking about mental health. Mental health is extremely important to me. So on Mondays, we bring on different guests and we talk about mental health things. In our community as a child, we were taught to sweep things under the rug. What happens in the house stays in the house. So what we do here is we unpack all of that. If you are interested in coming on to a Mental Health Monday, maybe you got a story to tell that you've never told anybody, and maybe you think it's time. We want you to go to the website and sign up for a Mental Health Monday. Also, if you are a mental health resource, we would love to have you come on as well, because there are a lot of people in our community that are looking for mental health professionals. Not everything has to be where you go and see a therapist. Sometimes it's a support group. Sometimes it's a life coach, Sometimes it's just they just need somebody to talk to. So that's what we kind of do here. We unpack all of that on Mondays. Okay, let me try to get her back. And if you have any resources, by all means, please DM them to me so we can get the information out to our community. Monday nights at 7 p.m., we go live. Yes, that is awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are doing Mental Health Mondays as well. It is needed. Mental Health Monday is needed. So make sure, if you're in the mental health community, reach out. We want to do a live with you on a Monday. Please reach out for sure. Going to DM you right now. Absolutely. Yeah. DM me. And if anybody wants to come on a Mental Health Monday, you just hit the link in the bio and sign up. Your parent advocate. I sent you an email a while ago. Can you do me a favor and check your email? Maybe it went into your spam folder, because I knew before I got sick, you and I were scheduled to do a live, and I want to make sure that we make that happen at your earliest convenience. For some reason, we're having an issue, and she's not able to get in. It keeps saying she can't join. So let me send her a DM and see what's going on. All right, give me 1 second, y'all. There she is. All right. Uh-oh. All right, let's see if she makes it on now. Let me see. Okay, because she's in Nevada, so let me see. It's like I think it's a 3-hour gap between her and I, since she's okay, she just seen my message. So if you are a mental health provider, maybe you have a mental health story, maybe you're a mental health resource, click the link in our bio and sign up for Mental Health Monday. It's important that we get mental health stories out. It's important that we get mental health resources out to our community. Wait, change to Saturday. uh, wait, wait a minute. Is today March 27th? Maybe I messed up, y'all. Hold on. I might have messed up on this paper. All right. Y'all, I might have screwed up. Look, y'all have to bear with me. My days are kind of running together. Let me send her a screenshot of this. We're having a, not even technical difficulties this time. I might have just messed up. Dang. Look, I just be trying to get the information out to y'all. But so yes, if you are a mental health person, it doesn't matter who you are. If it's holistic, because there's a lot of people that do holistic things. So if you're holistic, or if you're, a medical provider in some aspect, will you send me the link? Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Hey, B Treasures. Okay. All right, let's see. We trying to get it together. I'm trying to get it together, y'all. Y'all have to bear with me. It's hard out here in these streets trying to work and be sick. All right, so yes, Mental Health Mondays. I want you guys to get involved with the Mental Health Mondays. Also, if you're a resource in the community, Talk About It Tuesdays. That is where I want to talk to all the resources in our community, so people know about what's going on. So like if you're, say, a trademark attorney, those are things that people within businesses need to know about. If you're an accountant, you're a major resource. CPAs, major resource in the community. At the end of the day, what I want to try to do on Tuesdays is have resources for everybody in our community. All right, let's see if this works this time. I'm so sorry. That is my fault. My fault. Girl, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries.
Look, you look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. You do too.
I know you weren't ready for this live because you were thinking it was Saturday. That is my fault. I honestly think I might have been half asleep texting or something, and I didn't put it on my calendar.
Okay.
Oh no, ma'am. You know what? Today is the Mental Health Monday,
Right.
But were you signed up for this past Saturday for the Author Expo?
Maybe
By chance?
I didn't think I was. I thought I set it back for further down. I don't know what month though.
You might have, but that might be where I got confused and messed up.
Okay.
Because I actually have I'll check my stuff when we get offline. Okay. But I may have had you down on my paperwork for the Saturday Expo, and I might have reached out to you to try to reschedule the time for that, and screwed up today.
Okay, no worries. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Yes.
I think that's what I did, but I'll be able to investigate when we get off this live.
Okay.
But you guys, I want to introduce you to Mrs. Deborah Armstrong, who I just love and adore. She's just absolutely amazing, you guys. So you make sure you follow her. This is her and I's, second live we've done?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah, so Mental Health Monday is important to her as well. Mm-hmm. And she has a lot to talk about within Mental Health Monday. So what I'm going to do is let her tell you about her business, and then we'll get into why mental health is so important to you and your story.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So once again, you guys, this is Mrs. Deborah Armstrong from Armstrong Empowerment Coaching. I got to read my notes because I can't remember everything. So we're, okay. So tell them about your business before
Okay.
we get into all the other stuff so they can kind of get a feel for who you are and what you do.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you. So I have a company called Armstrong Empowerment Coaching, as was mentioned earlier. And basically what it is a coaching program for women that have been victimized in the past. And when I say victimized, either a mental, spiritual, emotional, or verbal abuse. And it's so what I found out is so many times women have a dream that they want to pursue, but they're kind of stuck. They don't really know where to go or what the next steps they should take. There's also the times where they feel really down about themselves and just feel like they won't be able to accomplish it. So what I do is I empower them to let them know, that they are more than enough and that they can go ahead and pursue their dreams and fulfill them, whatever that may be. So, in addition to doing that, I also provide excuse me, let me go back. I do this by having one-on-one coaching, as well as group coaching available to people that are interested. And you, of course, can find me by joining www.armempco.com. And then I also wrote a book called When the Kisses Stop, A Tale of Lessons Learned. And that is like more of a workbook that empowers women to let them know that kisses will stop at some point, regardless of the relationship that they may be in, a wanted versus unwanted relationship. And it's short stories about the lessons that these women have learned. And what I want the reader to learn from this is to be able to sit down and talk about their last kiss. And what did that mean to them, and what lessons did they learn from those last kisses?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Damn, that's kind of deep. Thinking about a last kiss type of thing.
Yeah.
Dag. Okay. Got me thinking. You got me over here thinking. That was a time.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we all have that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, now what is your background? Because you did some social working, and that ties into mental health. For me, that ties into mental health as well. Being a foster child, so that kind of all that comes hand in hand.
Right.
That looked me placed in my mind. Yeah, Kristen, I had to stop for a minute, and when she said the last kiss thing. Hey, what's the topic about, ladies? Okay, so real quick, we are talking to Miss Deborah Armstrong, author, coach, and what we do is it's Mental Health Monday. And so she has came on, and she's going to tell us all about her story and all about her business and how all of this came about and how it intertwines with mental health. And she's got a story. We all have a story. Everybody has a story, so don't let anybody tell you that you don't have a story. We all got one. And so today is Miss Armstrong's day to talk about mental health and tell us how it's impacted her life, what she's done to overcome things, the good, the bad, and the ugly we unpack on Mental Health Mondays.
Okay.
We started Mental Health Mondays. I started them because in our community, when I was a kid, things were swept under the rug. We were told what happens in this house stays in this house. Such and such touched you, we're not going to talk about it.
Right.
It's swept under the rug. So this is why I started the Mental Health Mondays for the community. And so that's what we're doing today. We are talking to Miss Armstrong, and she's going to give us the good, the bad, the ugly within mental health. And this is how we change our community. This is how we break generational curses, because we put it out there. And on Black Connections, anybody who comes on Black Connections is 100% transparent. And nobody judges here. We just talk. And that's what we're doing tonight. So that's the gist of what we're doing.
Very good. That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
think I answered the question a little bit. So Miss Armstrong, what made you hit the website and sign up for Mental Health Monday?
Okay, so it goes back to my life, and it goes back to me and the things that I witnessed and experienced, and I'm going to share more about that a little later, but this all leads to why. And then what I did in my professional career, I've always been a social worker, as you mentioned earlier, and I was fortunate enough, and I say fortunate because I learned so many lessons working with the different populations that I worked with. I was fortunate to start off in child welfare. I was not one of the ones that actually removed the children from the home, but what I was is one of the ones that empowered the families to take their children back and to raise them. And my method in order to do that is I wasn't there to judge people. I was there to allow people to share with me their method of what they would like to do in order to get their kids back, you know. And I was very successful in that, you know, for the ones that wanted to work the program. You know, of course, being in any kind of governmental agency, there's certain things you have to do that you may not want to do as parents or caregivers to get your kids back. But I would try to explain to them, you know, basically, if you want your kids back, this is what you got to do. Play the game, for lack of better words, you know. And then that took me to working with other populations besides children. I worked with adults. I worked with victims of domestic violence and their children that witnessed violence in the homes. I also started working in the jail system, the penal system, with inmates there, more so female inmates, encouraged them about self-care, as well as being able to know the cycle of domestic violence and how they have power in some cases to stop that cycle. And then that took me to developing my own and organizing my own nonprofit, which at the time, you know, and still is today, called Safe Embrace. I'm no longer with that program, but the reason why I started Safe Embrace, which was a domestic violence shelter program that provided clothing and food and counseling, as well as activities, self-help groups, educational groups, is because I really wanted to reach out to the African American population, because we are the ones that refuse to seek help. We don't want to be labeled, and we don't want to be, we just, like you said earlier, we were trained and taught not to tell anybody what's going on in our home, so we keep it secret, you know. And while the program was open to helping everybody, but that was the main focus, in helping African American women and their children. And I designed the program in a sense out of respect. So for example, if you were female, our staff we were a small organization, but our staff had to respect you by calling you Miss and your first name, regardless of if you were a woman or a little girl. And then we had to respect the boys in our shelter by saying Mr. and their first name for the same reason, to respect them. And our shelter was a little unique because in the community that I reside in, we were the only shelter at the time that was accepting teenage boys up to the age of 17. Back in those days, most domestic violence shelters did not do that. But, you know, I had teenagers at the time, and I couldn't see me leaving my home to go to a shelter without the kids, so why would I expect the women to do the same thing? And then our shelter was also a little unique in a sense that, you know, because I am a social worker, and I knew that unfortunately many social workers did not know how to work with this population. I invited them in by having an actual therapist there that was licensed and trained, and she provided the services to the women and the children if they wanted it at no cost to them. In addition, because I really believe in education, I had student interns from the School of Social Work program here in my area also do an internship there. So that led me to where I am today and why mental health is so important to me. And one of the reasons why it's so important to me, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier, how we don't tell anything outside of our home. I lived in a community and was raised in a community where 2% of the population was African Americans. So back in the day, everybody knew everybody pretty much, you know. Now it's risen to 3%, so that should tell you something right there. But out of respect of my family, I kept it hidden for many years, what happened in our home, because everybody knew, my family pretty much, you know. And so that's what led me to wanting to be on your show. After all of these years, I'm just now, for lack of better words, dabbling and sharing what happened, what I witnessed as a girl, and how a little girl, and how it impacted me in my adulthood. So that's why mental health, and long version of it, that's why mental health is so important to me, because I know the damage it did to me.
Well, and I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad you reached out, because I think anybody who's older than me, I call you guys elders. And I think that it's important that our community sees the elders telling their stories, because everything is trickled down for so long. Elders kept secrets, and then their children kept secrets, and then their children kept secrets. And, you know, it just kept going. Right. And so that's why I'm glad when people reach out and we're able to sit down on a Mental Health Monday and we unpack things, because it's needed, you know. And I know when other people see you guys on these lives on Mental Health Mondays, it's going to prompt them to, oh, Auntie just did that. You know what? I need to get this out. I have, you know, waited far too long. And sometimes people have take secrets to the grave. Right. Some people never get it out. And that's what's happening to my ex-husband right now. His mom died. He doesn't know who his father is. Mom died, took it to the grave. The only other uncle that knew died, took it to the grave. The other family members won't tell him. So how do you get closure, or, you know, how do you get information and things like that if people aren't willing to talk? So I appreciate you reaching out, and I just want you to have, you know, your moment to get everything out that you want to say today, because it's going to help somebody else, you know, including myself. I do these Mental Health Mondays for me too, because I'm struggling with so much right now. And sometimes I'm not able to leave my house. So this is, you know, mental health. So I get to hear what you guys have to say, and then light bulbs are going off in my head too. You know, okay, well, maybe you should try that. You know, that might work for you too. So I appreciate you for coming on today and being willing to, you know, talk about mental health. So with that being said, I'm not going to talk anymore, and I will let you have the floor and talk about what it is you would like to talk about today on Mental Health Monday, because today's about you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So welcome.
Very much so. So like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a very violent home. Okay, and like the person you were talking about earlier, I didn't know who my birth father was. But I was raised in a home with a mom, stepfather, and a younger sister. And so my stepfather, who was the father to my younger sister, was very mean, very hateful, very brutal, very abusive. I mean, I used to call him a dog, and that's probably not a nice thing to be saying on this, but that's how I felt about him. He would, and because I wasn't his kid, he'd let me know I wasn't his kid. So I was called the BMF, everything but my name, Deborah, okay? I heard that regularly. And I saw my mom and witnessed my mom getting beaten. Of course, me and my sister got beaten too. And I heard the name calling and the putting down and the degrading and the embarrassment and publicly embarrassment. And I just couldn't understand, you know, why my mom chose to stay in something like that. You know, growing up, so you learn to be silent. My family was very strict in a sense that back in the day, we couldn't really have friends. You know, I don't know what it's like to have a true friend, because we couldn't have them. We couldn't have people come to our house unless they were there. My father was unfaithful to my mother, and on top of all this, and he would go out and be gone for hours while she was work, so left me and my sister by ourselves. I recall an incident when I was like only 3 years old, maybe 4 years old, and we were left at home by ourselves, and I happened to look out the window and there was a fire nearby, and I didn't know what to do with it. But thank God my mom called and told us, what to do. So, it wasn't the best of times for me growing up. And I just, what I learned from that, and I think the main message I want to get out of this for women and men that are staying in unhealthy relationships, even if it's not physically violent, but it's name calling, yelling, putting down, degrading. The main message is I want you to understand how this impacts your kids. If you're thinking you're staying, and I'm not the type of person that's trying to tell you to leave your marriage and all that stuff, especially for those in the faith community that don't believe in divorce, because they think it's a sin. When you allow your children to witness this, you never know how that's going to impact your children and what that's going to lead to. Because I believe, especially as a little girl, all little girls are looking for a daddy's love. And if you don't receive that daddy's love at home, I guarantee you're going to go out somewhere else when you get older looking for it. And you're going to pick people that are just as violent, and they may not be hitting you, but they could be degrading you. They could have you out there prostituting. They could have you out there so messed up, so doped up that you don't even know what you're doing. And you're searching for love, but you're searching in the wrong places because you don't know what love looks like. Right. You never experienced that. And if you did experience it, it's what I would call seasonal. It's something that happened occasionally, So it was never consistent, And so because we're looking for love, one of the biggest lessons that this teaches us little kids not only is silence, but it teaches us fear. That's why so many children, I believe, is acting out in school systems, because they have a dysfunctional home. That's why there's so many people that are basically just, lying to themselves, And one of the there's a couple characters that I portrayed on a regular basis. I learned how to lie real good because I remember when I was in kindergarten, I went to school one day, and this was, CPS wasn't as busy in my day as they were in your time as far as really doing anything about it. And I went to school, bruises all on my arm. And I don't know who taught me this. I guess maybe my family taught me this. I don't know. But the teacher asked me what happened to my arm. I said, I fell. And of course, she accepted that, Right. I mean, one time my sister called Child Protective Services on him, and they came out, and because the house was clean and everything was in order, they left, and my sister got the worst beating after that, and was dared not to call again. And of course, did she? No, she didn't. So what you teach your children is to lie. You're teaching your children to be silent because we couldn't tell what was going on in our home, and right. We were so too afraid. And you're teaching your children fear, because children are so afraid to say anything because they're thinking that it's going to get worse. And in many cases it does, And then what it also does is it hinders when you grow up and you start dating and you start, maybe you get married or whatever the case may be, you're in some type of intimate relationship. It causes you not to take those relationships very serious. To you, it's just a relationship. It doesn't really mean anything, It's just like you don't know how to love. You don't know how to love anybody unconditionally. All you know is how to have pain and hurt. And what it does for us women is it teaches us not to like ourselves. It teaches us not to love ourselves. It teaches us not to value ourselves. Because, there's statistics out there that says that more than likely, if you are a child witnessing violence in the home, you are more than likely either to become the victim or the batterer. And that is a very true statement in my case. I became a victim, and to the point that I almost died. The person came and strangled me around my neck, and I heard my mom's voice saying, "Stop, I'll do anything you ask me to," which totally freaked me out because, of course, growing up, you never want to be like your mom, right?
Right.
So it was just crazy. But anyhow, I did that, and thank God I'm still here. But the reason why I do what I do is based on my sister. My sister was 3 years younger than I was, like I said before. My sister got involved in a relationship that was very unhealthy. She was with a man that was much older than her, that had her, she became a drug addict and had her out on the streets working. My sister, at the age of, I think it was 26, died. And I called it as a result of domestic violence. And my reason for saying that is because the way she was treated. Yeah. And so that's why I do what I do. For my sister, as well as my mom. My mom chose to stay in that relationship. I don't know why, but she chose. You know, we can't control that. But it wasn't a very good messaging that she gave her girls, you know, because, right. You know, both of her girls, you know, I mean, I didn't get into drugs or prostitution or anything like that, but I was involved in a lot of self-hatred. I didn't like myself.
I can totally understand that. So let me, Miss Tony says, I'm so happy to hear that you're able to speak up today, that God gave you a chance to see how that childhood trauma was affecting you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. And I think, Tony, too, that's what really helped me because of my faith. I was raised in a Christian home, whatever that really means. Right. I'm still a Christian today, and I'm not belittling it, but my home, when I left that church doors, was not Christian at all.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't, it took me a long time to go through this and you know, counseling. It's a lot of us African Americans or Black people, we don't believe in counseling. Right. But, you know, I think there's a myth that we believe, and we believe that people are going to think we're crazy and that they're there to fix us. No, they're not. They don't have your answers. But what they do have is an open platform for you to be able to not only to share your story, but for you to dig your answers up for yourself. Because as a social worker, that's my job too. I'm not licensed to counsel anybody, but my job is not to do it for the we call them client, patients, wherever capacity you're working in. But that's not our job, is to do it for you. Our job is to empower you and give you the courage to do it for yourself.
Now, your book, you said it's a workbook. Mm-hmm. So did that help? Did you making that workbook, was that able to help you at all when you were making it?
It was, because I've always believed, and I think this started back when I opened that shelter. I always saw myself as a mouthpiece for people that couldn't speak for themselves. And so even though the stories
for the voice,
exactly. So even though the stories are fictitious, it's a mixture of things that I saw over the years. You know, I combined the stories, and just started thinking, what did they learn, you know, when these lessons, and they briefly, it's a very short book, and they briefly talk about some of the lessons that they learned, but I felt that there's so many of us that could read that book and have similar experiences, or knew of somebody that had similar experiences, and then it gives us the opportunity to say, okay, what did I learn when I went through that, you know, or what did my auntie or uncle or sister or whomever, tell me that they learned, you know, when they went through that.
Was Mom able to get help?
He refuses still to this day, which is just.
And she's still with him?
That's my heart. No, he died in 2012. He had dementia and passed away. But it was really interesting because he was such a stubborn man. He never once apologized to her. He did apologize to me, but not to her. I asked him to, and he never did. And I'm thinking, wow, you spent all of these years with this person that didn't even have the decency to say, oops, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Something. Yeah.
But apologize to you. That's interesting. That he didn't apologize to her.
Exactly. But
did that affect your relationships?
With him?
What you went through growing up? Did it affect your relationships when you got into relationship?
Yes, it did.
And
way that it did that is because to me, and I'm just being blunt and honest, okay? But to me, marriage was a joke. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I was raised in a time where it was expected of you as a young woman to get married and have kids. Okay? And so I did exactly what was expected of me. However, I did not enter those relationships loving that person.
Right.
It was something I was supposed to do. And
a
I'm good at
job.
people telling me what to do, and doing it because that's just the way I was raised. You had to.
Right.
So I really, now that I'm older, sit back and look at those relationships and actually feel really bad that, I messed up other people's lives. People that said that they loved me and wanted to be a part of me. And it's like, to me, no, get out of my face. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm not going to listen to you. I was very, very stubborn. And unfortunately, I've been married a couple times and they didn't work. But it wasn't because of them. It was because of me. Because I wasn't going to let anybody control me or tell me what to do, which is not the right thing to do. So don't do that for those of you that are listening. But that's just the way I was.
Now, did you have children?
Yes, I did have 3 children.
Now,
I have 3 children.
how was that, raising them with everything that you went through?
It was difficult in a sense. You have to put on a smile and pretend and be the person that's like, you got it together, And so I had 2 boys. They're the oldest, and they were raised with a stepfather who was a really good man, but their real father, their birth father, chose not to really be around them a lot because he was angry because our relationship dissolved. And I really
so my kid's father did.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I
So that really,
with that, unfortunately.
yeah, it was, and it's sad for them,
It is,
because over the years, and they're adults, of course, now. They, for a while, they didn't have a good relationship with their birth father, who lived in the same city as they lived in. And so I feel guilty, but people say, well, don't feel guilty. You made that reason for whatever reason you made, that choice for whatever reason you made. So, but one thing I can say, my oldest son, because of that, he's a father, and he is so determined, and he is actually a very good father to his kid, because he did not want to be in a situation that he was in, because of my race. Yeah. And then I have a daughter who's my youngest one, and she had a very nice father that loved and cherished her. And I used to tell her how I was jealous of her because she had a father's love that I never had.
Right.
And I told her, you better not ever get an abusive relationship, because if you do, I'm going to kill you myself, which, of course, I didn't mean that.
Right.
And unfortunately, she did get an abusive relationship. I mean, she was able to get out of it, but she had to pay a hefty price to get out of it, which breaks my heart, because abuse.
Yeah, because we don't want to see our children go through anything that we went through.
Exactly.
We try to do everything in our power. Okay, my childhood was this. Doctor tells you you're pregnant. The first thing you're thinking of is, how do I not screw up? How do I not do what my parents did? Because at the end of the day, that's all we know is how we grew up. And it takes some guts and determination to do a complete 180 with your children, than what your parents did with you. And it's not easy, and it's almost like we're scared that we're going to screw up. And sometimes we're so scared that we're so strict with them, or hold them so tight that we don't let them breathe, so to speak. One of my girlfriends was like that. Now, when you got older, did you, because our community does not like going to therapy, did you just break down and say, I'm going to go to therapy?
Yes, I did. and because I do believe in it, and it has truly helped me see me. It has because you know when we go through whatever we're going through in our homes or in our lives, we see one perception, right? And so, but when you go to somebody else's objective, they see something different. And one of the things I recognize is that I was so guilty of pointing the finger to the people that hurt me instead of looking at the involvement that I played against it. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I was actually insulted, you know, when they insinuated that was a challenge that I had. But then as I thought about it over a period of time, you know, you continue to go to therapy, you realize that you do have some say in this. And when I say that, I'm talking about the way you feel about yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, just because someone else
Thank
told
you, Kristen.
Just because somebody told you you were stupid doesn't mean that you have to believe that.
Right. Yeah. That you know, and I